So my name is Nikolai Petrou. I work in business development for Altviz. We're a team of predictive analytics and database visualisation specialists based here in London. Today I'm going to be talking about unstructured data and specifically how unstructured data can be used as a business enabler. So for my talk, I'd like to cover what unstructured data is, why you should be interested in unstructured data, and how that can best be used to gain insights and information. But initially, I'd like to start off talking about something that you're probably all already very familiar with, structured data. So structured data is a generally simple ASCII text stored in columns, rows, and a structured table. This is the data of our relational database, and when we want to query that database, we use SQL, which of course is a structured query language. When the database is put together, it's put together in a way to answer specific business questions. We heard Lee mention that earlier on today. You need to have an idea what questions you want to answer when putting the database together. And it's this data that forms the basis of much of our current business intelligence reporting. But not all data in the world fits into neat columns and rows. And this is where unstructured data comes in. And within unstructured data, we've got textual data, so that's things like Word documents, PowerPoints, emails, and then your non-textual data. Image files, movies, audio files, and that's also referred to as rich data. But so what? These files aren't new, these have been around for years. Why is it only recently that people started to get excited about unstructured data and big data, which we've heard so much about in the last 2 or 3 years? And part of the reason isn't the new forms of data, it's a combination of cheaper storage, which makes storing this data more viable, and improved processing power, which means you can actually analyse this data and gain insights from it. And it's this graph that shows why you need to be interested and why you should be excited about unstructured data. We saw earlier on this morning the graph that had the world's data growing and to be around 4 zettabytes in 2014. This graph splits down the structure of that data, and you can see that although structured data is growing, it's the unstructured data that's growing exponentially. So this massive increase that we're seeing in the world is being led by unstructured data, and that's expected to continue. We're at 4 zettabytes now. By 2020, we expect that to increase another 10 times to get to 40 zettabytes, so 40 trillion gigabytes. And that's a massive change. It'll have significant impact on the way each of us lives our lives. And anyone involved in the data management industry needs to be interested in this. So, one of the things to know about unstructured data is not every record is the same as the others. There are variances between the records that we have. A good example of this would be a computer hardware store. So a computer hardware store would have a product database, and there'll be common fields within that database, things like the name of the product, price, the vendor. But then there will also be item product rather specific fields. Things like a monitor will have a screen resolution, screen size, hard drive will have a capacity. How do you store that in a relational database? You can. It's possible to do it. You could have a very large table with many, many fields. But for most products, most of those fields would be enough. Or you could set up multiple tables, one for each product type. And then you need to join those tables together to do your analysis. Or you could use a non-relational data store. And that's where things start to get much easier. because this allows you to capture data at a more individual level. It doesn't have to look exactly the same as the other files. And that's exactly what happened at The Guardian. So The Guardian, as most of you will know, publishing house, been around for many years, had relational databases. But those databases were hindering their evolution from being a traditional publishing house to an online provider of rich media content. Part of that strategy to move on to be a provider of rich media content and being online was to set up a user database system where each user's interactions with the website were captured. So if somebody entered a competition, if somebody left a comment online, that needed to be captured. But the relational database couldn't do that. So The Guardian switched over to a document data store called MongoDB, and that allowed them to capture the data using the JSON format. And that didn't matter if user A had 20 data items associated with them, and user B had 30. Because the information is unique to each individual, it could be stored in a tailored way and then queried to surface the insights. This graph here from the job site Indeed shows the increase in job adverts which require experience in non-relational data sources and how they've increased dramatically in the last 5 years or so. So does that mean the relational database is going away? Obviously the answer is no. Your unrelational data store is a supplementary data source. It's not a replacement for a relational database. Now, I know in the Guardian example, you did see MongoDB replacing the relational database, but typically they're used to do different things. Earlier on, somebody mentioned context, and I think that's absolutely key. It's all about the context of the data that we're looking at, the questions that we're asking. So if you query your bank, and then you query it 5 minutes later, you want the answer to be the same. Assuming you haven't taken any money out or put any money in, you'd expect the bank balance to be the same. That might not be the case with a distributed data store. Because of the way the information is stored, it's possible you can get different information. But I do apologise.
Glass of water, everybody got a glass of water, we'll stop it. Sorry.
And I can't remember who said this morning, I think it was you, about people saying we don't need data people anymore.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think completely the opposite. We need more data people. Data people with different skills, maybe.
Totally agree.
And
data people that aren't called data people.
Yes.
People are called different things. Structured data is still increasing. That's not going away. And there's even more data. So lots more data people doing lots more interesting things. Working in other areas of business, yes, but not getting rid of us altogether. But although the structured database isn't going away, it doesn't deal very well with inserting new fields, capturing different types of information. That's where these non-relational data stores are interested. And this opens up the opportunity of working with messy data, as some people refer to it as. And touching on data management, when you're dealing with billions of lines of information, you have to deal with that information in a different way. We can't have the focus on exactitude that we have with the relational data store. But sometimes that's okay, and sometimes it can in fact be better. So in the example of maybe a vineyard owner, they might want to keep track of the temperature in the vineyard so they know when to harvest the grapes. There's two ways they might do this. They could have a very precise thermometer that they take a reading from once a day and know with absolute accuracy what the temperature reading is. Or they could have thousands of thermometers spread across the vineyard, recording the temperature at each individual line that they get data from on a minute-by-minute basis. Cheap thermometers that are going to fail, that are going to give inaccurate results occasionally. The volume of the data that they're getting outweighs the inaccuracies that might be coming through. And here it's the trend that's important. So much like the marketing data, in these instances, trend is enough. It doesn't have to be exact and precise. Bank accounts, yes, that needs to be precise, but in that example, preciseness isn't so important, and the cost of trying to be precise isn't commercially viable. But why do we need to bother working with this unstructured data? It's messy, it's painful to work with. You still need to do a lot of data cleansing to gain insights from it. Well, we've seen that 80% of data is potentially unstructured data. If we're only focusing on the structured data, we're only getting the insights from the structured part of our database. That's only 20% of our data store. So by extending out into unstructured data, we're opening up insights from the other 80% of data that's out there in the world. And this is where some of the really exciting developments are happening. So Skype, now available on Skype, is speech translation in real time. So this means you can have a conversation with someone in a different part of the world who, for example, speaks French or Mandarin. You speak English, and it comes out the other end in French. They speak that in French. And,
that would work. Conversation would drop off.
Can't do English with American or English with Australian.
That's us.
And yeah, with the way processing power is going, it's not going to be long before we have some of that both popping your ear and you're wandering around the streets in a foreign country and hearing English back. Smart TVs are using facial recognition for targeting ads. So group of ads watching the football, far more likely to see an advert for beer rather than ads.
My smart TV is connected.
And Amazon are using predictive analytics to anticipate what the next order will be before you're even locked on, and to start to move product to distribution centres closer to you. Their goal is to be able to deliver products within a 30-minute window using drones, and it's this kind of predictive analytics that will make that 30-minute window a possibility.
I'm definitely
But how do you interact with this kind of analysis?
So who do you think is doing this best at the moment? Is it Amazon or is it somebody else that's really sort of ahead of the game?
Amazon are investing a lot of money, and they are pretty good at the predictive side of things. I find Amazon a bit scary as well. Google's pretty good as well. I personally prefer the Google business model. So the analysis that sits behind this data is incredibly complex. But your end user that's typically using that data to make business decisions isn't normally technically savvy, they're not a technical background. Data visualisation can open up that information to business users. And that's because the human brain has evolved as pattern. And the reason that is because evolution favoured our ancestors that thought they saw a tiger hiding in the shadows and ran away, rather than those early humans who didn't notice the real tiger and subsequently ate them. So we see patterns, even though there might not be a pattern there, the human brain's designed to recognise patterns. And I'll just do an experiment. So if we can imagine that we're working in the pharmaceutical industry and we're manufacturing vaccines which are stored in refrigerators. So we've got 100 refrigerators, a vaccine has to be kept at 5 degrees. And your data report looks something like this. How many refrigeration units have a 40 thermostat that's allowing the temperature to increase beyond 5 degrees? Okay, now give me the answer.
Oh, I saw that one.
It's so much quicker when you're using colour to to describe the pattern, the brain can't help but to be drawn to the break in the pattern. And data visualisation also allows us to capture vast amounts of data. So we saw the graph this morning with flight paths. This is something very similar, but this is Facebook friendship networks. So from 500 million Facebook users, this was done by one of their interns. I think I'm right in saying there's no geographic information there. The outlines of the countries come purely from the lines of data. We have this beautiful visualisation where, the same as the flight paths, the brighter the colour, the more networks. You couldn't put that into a tabular form in millions of minutes of isolation. You couldn't hope to understand it. But instantly, you can see here.
I want to know who's Facebooking from the middle of the water.
And Russia.
Yeah. And the top of Africa is also very
There's no Russia.
boring.
And the East Coast, West Coast, split America. Rednecks, no rednecks. It's straight away, we're all drawing, doing our own analysis on huge amounts of data.
I see Cape Town and is very, very busy.
That's just you.
No, I don't know.
I think what's interesting about that is that the outline of the atlas is emerging from that nothing.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating.
that is just... Yeah, but it is... I want to steal that one because it's really great because I'm going to give this again soon. So can I borrow that
I
picture?
stole it from Facebook.
Oh, okay. Then we're on. Yeah, because that's third-hand seen it. Brilliant.
So, if you want to start exploring unstructured data in your business, where should you start? Well, my advice would be to try and identify a fairly simple project, something that aligns with your business strategy. Then take a small amount of data and work with that offline to build a prototype. Once that prototype is working nicely and you're confident with the results that it's generating, then roll it out and start hooking it into live data and rolling it out to the business. That's when you build up credibility. People start to get some business benefits straight from the outset, rather than trying to take on a huge project that maybe won't go so well, and people say, oh, this big data, it's just a fact, it's not going to do anything, and let's move on to the next thing. So, that's it from me. In summary, we've seen what unstructured data is, why you should be interested, and how you can start to make use of unstructured data to gain additional business insights. Do you want to do questions, or should we?
No, there are a few questions on the back. So, thank you, Nikolai. You're excellent. Well, a couple of minutes of questions for Nikolai, and then I'll panel debate with all speakers who have come very quickly up there.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that the value of unstructured data can lie at the macro level if you're trying to do big analyses. But I would have thought a lot of potential value of it comes where you can somehow connect it to more traditional data sources. So, for example, if you've got a traditional customer database, right, and you're interested in all the tweets and all the other stuff that's out there in the unstructured world, it's how you can connect those two things together is where certainly the individual level a lot of insight's going to come. So all I would say to that is when you said the only ways of doing things, if you like, I think they still have a big part to play, because the better your structured data is, the more chance you've got of making those connections with the unstructured world.
I agree 100%. So where we can see some real benefits is if you take that structured data, a custom database, and then link it with your unstructured data. And like we were saying this morning, just because someone's looking at a Mustang doesn't mean they're going to buy it. If you combine those patterns with people who did actually buy Mustangs, then you can start to get some insights and make inferences from behaviour that you're seeing in the organisation.
Yeah, a good example of that was during the 2011 riots, and I think BlackBerry gave access to messaging, and we're able to see everybody who's heading off down Clapham Junction, so they're able to deploy big stand we had to try and stop it at source. So it was a relation, know where collecting junction is, management information system.
That's right. In that example, the BlackBerry was a closed messenger network,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think they gave access to the police.
Yeah. The other thing, which is just a sort of an axe to grind, all data is structured, because if there wasn't a structure, you couldn't decode it. So if you take a digital image file, which is an area of my background, the header captures a whole load of relational database stuff that's normally normalized. So you can tell when the camera, which camera it was, almost the serial number of the camera, what time it was taken, etc., etc. So this is not a criticism, it's just an observation that there's got to be a better term.
It is
unstructured
a
data.
misleading term,
Yeah.
because as you say, all data can be structured. The storage of that data can be flexible, but there's still a structure to it. If you're storing data in a JSON file, there is a structure to that, so the term is
I can chip in there as well as there's a continuum. Some of the projects I'm involved in is a migration project. There's a lot of document type data which ranges from being in a system where the metadata is there, so you know exactly what it related to, through to an enterprise document management system with some fairly iffy metadata, fairly iffy usage of it, through to local file stores that people have set up with folder names to try and give you some metadata from folder names, through to pieces of paper, and lots of bits of paper. It's like a continuum. They're trying to work out.
Unreadable PDFs is another one.
Yeah.